keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Okay.
Welcome, beholders, zombies, and homunculi, to the 242nd episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 24th of January, 2018, and featuring the Sarah Jane Adventures Invasion of the Bane, written by Russell T. Davies and Gareth Roberts, and starring Elisabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, Yasmin Page as Maria, Tommy Knight as Luke, and a cameo by John Leeson as the voice of K9. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
You think darkness is your ally?
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
And apparently Bill can't talk tonight.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Well, hello, Mr. Goodbye.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Boip, Granoip, Minibon.
Okay.
That was a Transformers reference.
Yes,
it was.
yes, it was a Transformers the movie reference.
The good one.
And not the Michael Bay shit.
Yes. I is up with the hipness.
You white.
God, that was about as bad as Sam Riegel trying to talk like a skateboarder.
Who told you that?
Actually, I shouldn't say that. His California skateboard accent's about the same as mine.
Oh dear.
Oh, God.
Now that we've offended the entire audience, good night, everybody.
No, we haven't offended. Actually, I don't think we've been that offensive yet. I haven't talked about
I'm pretty sure
Canadians.
we've at least annoyed the West Coast.
Is Aaron here?
Silence.
Um,
She's supposed to be here. There she is.
Oh, there she is.
Also, she unmutes herself.
Well, I'm chewing on ice, so I don't want to be crunching over people talking.
Or
True.
ringing her ice bell.
Yeah.
Her
I have a new ice bell. It sounds like a cowbell.
actually, it sounds like those things that they ring at race cars when people are going around, which actually might be cowbells, but that's not what they're used for.
Yes. But Tim, you called me?
No, I just saw that your mic was muted, so I was wondering,
Yeah.
when.
Is she there?
Yeah.
you're there.
I'm listening. I'm listening intently and also chewing ice.
Yay, ice! Ice is
Yeah.
cool.
That habit you have that we keep reminding you is technically bad for you.
I can quit anytime I want, especially when I go to eat chocolate.
I don't think that's any better.
So, yes, Aaron has a very addictive personality.
Eh.
I think she needs to learn to play golf. I hear from Alice Cooper that's a wonder. It's helped him with his alcoholism.
Yeah, but it's not good for the blood pressure, let me tell you.
Oh, probably not. Especially not digital golf. Oh dear.
Oh, I don't know.
what about Kirby Golf?
There was a game when I was in middle school called Zany Golf. And it was
I had that game for the Genesis.
Yeah, we had it on Mac at our computers. And I think I wound up breaking 3 copies of it because I played it so much. And I swear I think one of them I freaking John McEnroe the damn disc.
Did your version have the hole with the hopping cheeseburger?
Yes.
Okay, confirmed.
Same game. Yep.
Meanwhile, I can tell you that I heard a golf game not long ago, like within the last week or so, where it sounded like somebody broke their own mouse in a rage.
Yeah. Well, that's what you mean by when I said John Mackin wrote it. He was a tennis star that was known for, if he missed a shot or flubbed something, he would physically break his rackets on the field. He got thrown out of Wimbledon, I think, twice for it. And was a meme, but I'm once again showing how freaking old I am by bringing him up. Yes, I am an old relic. I'm an old man. I'm old man.
Speaking of old, probably time to move on to the birthdays.
Okay. Yes, now that we have a segue on tonight's show, we've got the news, but there's not a lot of news, which is why we're able to talk a little more freely today. Starting, of course, with birthdays. Don't think we have any geek talk tonight. Nope.
Not pre-planned, at least.
No, nothing I knew about. I don't have a rant this week. It's been a quiet week here at Ron Wobegon here. No reviews of Shame. So we're going to go right into the 5-minute challenge after the news. And then, of course, the episode review, our thoughts, and our final ratings. So, starting with birthdays, we've got 4. First birthday is on the 18th of January and is the birthday of Christopher H. Bidmead, script editor from the 1980-1981 era of Doctor Who and a writer for a lot longer than that. I'm trying to remember what his last write was, but it was, I think, like late 5th, early 6th Doctor era. Anyway, Christopher spends most of his time as a writer for PC magazines now, and spends the rest of his time doing audio commentaries for Doctor Who DVDs and the occasional writing of a Big Finish title, but I think he's maybe done 2 or 3 in the entire history of Big Finish, so not that prolific there.
He wrote Legopolis, Castrovalva, and Frontios.
Frontos, that was the one near the end of the 5th Doctor era, so... Yeah, we knew he wrote Legopolis and Castrovalva, but he was script editor at the time, or no, he had just finished being script editor at the time. Anyway, speaking of Legopolis, also the birthday on the 20th of January is Tom Baker, the 4th Doctor himself, turned 84. Tom saw Star Wars Rebels through to the end, voicing the Bendu, the gray side of the Force. And, of course, is doing interviews and Big Finish audios. I saw a picture of him with kittens. Not sure where that came from.
Were the kittens co-starring in an audio?
I have no idea. It literally looked like that bunch of kittens that the 10th Doctor had in, Gridlock. Only they're crawling all over Tom's, who's just grinning like a madman.
As usual.
I've seen it too. Sarah showed me.
Yeah, it was somewhere on Facebook. So, and he has the record of being the oldest Doctor, oldest living Doctor ever. Because if you look, both Hartnell and Troughton died in their 60s. And Pertwee lived to be 76.
Tom's my favorite Doctor. So.
And Tom's getting well into his 80s at this point, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 84 now.
And John Hurt was 77 when he went.
Yep. So he is the oldest. He is the oldest Doctor ever. So it's no wonder he's been wondering if he's going to be kicking off soon.
I'm pretty sure being the oldest for this long probably would make anybody nervous.
You keep looking around the corner and you keep seeing the Reaper looking at a watch. It's just like,
oh shit!
Seasons don't fear the Reaper.
Don't fear the Reaper. Anyway.
You saying that Tom Baker's older than the seasons?
I'm saying we had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
He's the Time Lord. He walks in eternity. That's like
okay. Moving on. Damn it! I had a segue, but freaking Tim and Matt ruined it.
And we kept going.
Oh yeah, because Okay, go ahead.
As I was going to say, from the oldest to one of the youngest people on our list, we go to the 22nd of January and Tommy Knight, which is an appropriate birthday this week because he plays Luke Smith in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He turned 25 this week. This week.
Gosh, he's so
appeared
young.
in a... Yeah. Well, this is 2018. So he was like 14, 15 when he started this bit.
Yeah.
And he's not bad for basically a teen actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's appeared in a few films in the last year, but no major roles that I saw. He had larger roles in some indie films, but nothing in anything big and of note.
I don't know. Let me have a look. Go on.
No, let's not get anal retentive, Matt.
I'm not going to go anal retentive. I'm just going to see if there's anything of note.
Finally, on the same day, we get a posthumous birthday for John Hurt, the war doctor who would have been 78 but died last year at 77. Of course, we all remember the tragedy that was. When did that happen?
That was last year?
Yeah, it was last year, but was it like May? I'm trying to remember what part of the year it happened, because I remember us discussing the future of the War Doctor audios, and that was a while ago.
Yeah,
he died in January.
In January,
it
so
was shortly after his birthday.
It was literally a year ago.
Yeah. 3 days. It was 3 days after his 77th birthday.
So it would be the anniversary of his death tomorrow. Good to know.
Wow. Couldn't nail that any harder, yeah.
So, speaking of death, we do have a lost story this time. Aaron?
I'm totally not eating chocolate right now. Okay. Unfortunately, we have lost actor Peter Wyngarde, who died at the age of 90, and who has quite mysterious origins. However, before going on to that, we should probably point out that he played Timonov in the Planet of Fire, which we just reviewed, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a couple
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep, he was the devout religious leader of the planet Sarn. So, and apparently his
I could tell it's him by his
are...
glorious mustache.
Yeah, I know. His mustache and his high-ass cheekbones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it looks quite sophisticated. But, like I said, he apparently had very mysterious origins. No one quite knows where he came from, even. He's believed to have been born in France in the 1920s. He grew up in the Far East in World War II, in the Shanghai internment camp. And let me see here. He arrived in Southampton at the age of 18 after the war, so, and eventually became a television star after completing law school and also going into advertising.
So it looks like the fact his birth date is approximate, or his age is approximate, because they don't know.
Yeah,
this is the assumed age. Yeah,
he's best known for playing Jason King, which is what Mike Myers' Austin Powers character is based off of, the spy.
Yeah, that's the spy series Department S.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've never seen.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I've seen old episodes of the Avengers, and I'm talking the British Avengers, not the Marvel stuff. And I've seen Secret Agent Man.
Have you seen The Prisoner?
I've seen The Prisoner, because my mother had both the full Secret Agent Man and the full Prisoner on DVD. She was a big fan. But I never saw Department S.
Yeah, apparently when he was going to go play Timonov, he was going to play it with, like, a lot of makeup and whatnot, and heavy disguise, they describe it as, but John Nathan Turner convinced him to show his face, according to the article. He also pretty much retired from acting when he suffered from a throat infection during a production of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And then after that, he only made brief appearances for events.
Well, yeah, because throat infections can be very hard to recover from. My mother had a throat infection, and before she was a second soprano, she used to sing in like choral stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, her even after she had gone through vocal therapy to recover as much of her voice as she can, she was only ever a mezzo soprano after that.
Yeah, well, and this isn't just strep throat. This is like other
Yeah.
types of throat infections exist. So
Yeah, I know. Trust me, what my mother had isn't strep. My family cannot get strep. We are genetically immune to strep throat.
Should also note here that it mentions that he also played Clytus from Flash Gordon, the 1980 film. So he was the guy in the Golden Mask,
Ah,
the second in command of the villain's side.
yep.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, that's a shame on Peter Wingard, but at 90-ish, you gotta be
Yeah.
expecting it.
yeah, it was a good run.
It was a very good run. Not
Mhm.
many people can claim 90.
All right.
Especially people that worked in BBC studios during
Yeah,
that time
right?
period.
No,
Okay.
people that worked in BBC studios, you expect to die from cancer, Bill.
I know. I'm saying
That's what we're saying, Randy.
usually when
We
you die
expected him
from
to die a long
cancer, you
time
don't
ago.
Make it to 90.
Yeah,
Because they've been
Oh.
playing with the asbestos again.
apparently. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry, I was simmering because I was trying to move on and I got cut off again. Anyway, let's move on to cast and crew news.
Okay, cast and crew news. News about Jodie Whittaker. She's done filming in South Africa, and she's back in the UK, and she made an appearance at the National Television Awards, where someone asked her how much she was going to be making, and she said she will be getting paid the same amount of money as Peter Capaldi. And she added, "It's a bit of a shock that it's a surprise to everyone that this should be supported, the notion of equal pay, that is." And she also said that she really likes being in Doctor Who. Quote, "It's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. I get to see all the best places."
Okay. It should be noted, however, that Capaldi got paid less than Tennant or Smith got paid.
Yes.
On the other hand,
I think each doctor. We went over this a few months ago. I think that each doctor in the New Who era got paid less than the one before.
I didn't. I thought Eccleston got paid less than Tennant.
I don't think so. I thought he got paid more.
I would have to look at the numbers. But yeah, from Tennant to Matt Smith and then Matt Smith to Capaldi, yes, they did go down. I'm kind of willing to bet that it's to some degree that they weren't a popular name in that kind of genre. Even though Capaldi himself had done several things.
And this, by the way, only counts paycheck from the BBC itself,
Not any of the
BBC.
extra stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
which we don't know what that is.
Which, to be honest, Joey Whittaker is probably going to be making extra on action figures and other memorabilia.
Why?
So
Why would she be making any more extra than, say, Peter Capaldi or David Tennant was?
yeah, that's my question too.
Because it's more of a because it's a first-time female doctor, so people may want to collect more memorabilia about her because it's kind of sort of a historic event for the show.
Well, that's one thing that will push her to be paid more than Capaldi, maybe, at least in the short run, for sure.
I know some people have argued that she shouldn't get equal pay because she doesn't have the awards and stuff that Capaldi had.
Which is
And that
true,
she's
but
still
if
fairly
BBC, but
early
it's up
in
to the
her
BBC
career.
to decide how much they want to pay for doing the same job.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, the reason why some of the other previous doctors got lowered pay is because they are having background issues at BBC to begin with.
Hmm.
But by the way, I'm not going to spend time looking for the actual numbers, but Doctor Who article I'm looking at now does confirm that Tennant was paid less than Eccleston, but I'm not going to keep looking for more details.
Hmm.
That's well enough. That's more than enough.
Yeah, so it is true that it has been scaling down.
Yeah. Oh, and Eccleston was like the first one to come back. Like that was when the show was brand new. Maybe
And
they
and
had
Eccleston
more
at that
budget
point
to
was actually a
spend.
big name.
No, I
To some
don't. I
degree.
don't know why that was anyway. Because Eccleston's position going into Doctor Who was very similar to Tennant's. Both
Yeah.
were coming off a hit show.
Mm-hmm.
And both were well-known names because of said show.
I didn't know Christopher Eccleston by name at first originally, but I did know him as that sergeant guy from 48 Days Later. I believe it
Yeah,
was.
no, he had
28 days.
he had a role where he was basically playing like Jesus in modern time. That was
Yeah,
really
I think I
big.
heard about that one.
No wonder he got Russell's attention.
It
I think it was a Russell production.
was a
What are
Russell
you talking-
production, yeah.
Of course it was.
and Tennant, of course, had just come off of Casanova.
Which, wasn't that also a Russell? Or did he do something
Yes,
with
it
Russell
was
before?
a Russell production. Yes.
So yeah, both of them just came off of Russell Productions.
Yeah, so it's
Both-
not even favoritism. Hey, I've worked with this person before. I can rely on them. I'll give them a little bit extra, for sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That could have been part of it too.
I would have thought that Tennant would have gotten paid bigger because at that point Doctor Who had gotten a slightly larger budget because it was a success instead of an experiment.
Well, did he turn down any raises or anything for some reason?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't.
I mean, there are employees that will turn down, raises and stuff in order to make sure that the business, even if the business is doing well, to ensure that it keeps doing well.
Unless his contract replaced snogging Billy Piper with instead of money.
I mean, he could have. Tennant could have settled lower just because he was such a huge Doctor Who geek.
That's true too.
Whereas Eccleston knew nothing about the role really, other than
and Matt Smith
every
was kind of
British
an
person
unknown,
knows.
so obviously they're going to bring the price down on him a little bit.
Yeah,
Also,
he
what
was.
kind
That
of-
I was going to bring that up. He was a nobody. I mean, he apparently had done some stage.
He'd done some stage, he'd done some TV, and he'd done maybe one or two films as a sizable cameo, but that was about it.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I would have expected the money to go up for Capaldi because of his records, but it didn't.
Yeah, but apparently
he
it's
was-
stagnated again. It's weird.
Because the BBC was under price crunch.
Then again,
And
yeah,
of
there could be that. It could also be that Capaldi was a big enough fan too that he just went, "I'm willing to go lower."
It's possible. It's also possible that they weren't willing to pay as much for an older man.
That's
Than
sadly
than
possible too.
Yeah, I mean, all of these are theories that could be and couldn't be.
It's only a
But they're
theory.
only theories.
salary.
So
We won't know until the Doctor becomes a young man again and seeing if his
if
contract
the price
with
goes
money
up, yeah.
jumps. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on.
Moving on, so we have a little bit of news of Jenna Coleman's appearance in Twice Upon a Time. According to this article on Cultbox, her footage was shot in the Top Gear offices in London because the production had to work around Coleman's extensive commitments to filming Victoria for ITV. And so Capaldi and Coleman didn't record the scene together, but Taleli says, "I think we pulled it off."
Yeah.
meh.
You really can't tell that much.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can tell, oh gee, well, it's somebody taking her image. So yes, if it looks a little out of place, that'd be why.
Right.
But the big part about this was the fact that her role was originally scheduled to be a lot more sizable.
Yes, it was.
That
She
would
was,
explain why they didn't hug or anything like that.
She was originally going to appear in the scene where Bill and Nardole are saying goodbye to the Doctor.
Like Bill just mentioned, no goodbye hug.
Yeah. And the Doctor is going to be hinting at he's about to pick his favorite, but none of them can figure out who he's talking about.
Huh?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. I think that means that he was going to make a hint that one of you's my favorite, and then they'd all each be thinking that it was them.
That seems unnecessary.
It wasn't. It's unnecessary. I'm actually glad that got cut.
that actually sounds like a very Moffat thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing that can go the hell away.
Nope.
Yep.
And the Doctor has a favorite. Her name was Sarah Jane.
The whole lot of you
no.
know nothing compared to Sarah
wait.
Jane. Good day.
He abandoned
Tip of the hat.
handles on Trenzalore, didn't he?
What's that?
I said he abandoned handles on Trenzalore, didn't he?
Well,
So that's not his favorite.
Handles kind of died.
Probably, yeah.
It literally ran out of power and died. Because that was an emotional scene in Time of the Doctor. Apparently Bill has repressed that because he tries to repress most of Time of the Doctor.
I don't blame him too much. There's some things I'd
just
repress
makes
too.
Bill think of illusionary clothes and Jenna Coleman and Matt Smith hugging each other in illusionary clothes. And turning a scene that was innocent into being very suggestive when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now Bill is in that place, and we may not see him for a while.
Yeah, I'll go back to watching Dragon Ball Fighters cutscenes.
It'd probably be better for you.
I don't know. After the stream tonight, I'm going back to watching Critical Role again.
Wait, Dragon Ball Fighters?
Yes, that's the new fighting game that came out. It's apparently really awesome.
Oh, Fighter Z. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's Fighters with a Z.
Yeah, there's no space, and everyone's pronouncing it without a space. So.
Oh, okay. That's the one with the new android, the female android.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Game Informer had a whole article about her.
All right.
Yep.
So you have one more article there.
One more article. There's a little video clip of the final read-through for Twice Upon a Time that is part of the DVD extras, or the DVD release of Twice Upon a Time. And it's also available on YouTube. It's very lighthearted, but they do say on the table in the background you can catch a glimpse of Chris Chibnall.
Well, yeah, he would probably be there just so he would be, well filled in on what was going on, so that he could start writing and land on his feet. But yeah, it's a little bit emotional. I mean, when you're doing something for years and then you're at the last this, the last that, the last other things, it's always emotional. But if you're interested, it's kind of a little behind the scenes bit, so it's just a nice little watch that they've made available for free.
I might try to remember to watch that after the stream.
I was watching a bit of it before the podcast, and there's like little mini interviews with people, including Moffat and Capaldi and stuff. So, nice little mini watch. Anyway, we're going from there straight to our book category because there's nothing out now.
So it's a week that has a Wednesday, which means that Candy Jar Books has news about the Lethbridge Stewart
2
line.
weeks ago, there was nothing from Candy Jar.
I know that was really weird. We were really confused, if I recall.
Yep.
I believe I mentioned that Satan was going to work on ice skates.
But to make up for this one is a collection of short stories.
Huzzah!
Called Lethbridge Stewart Lineage. This is a series of tales about the Lethbridge Stewart family from the early 1600s right up to the present day, including 3 stories about the Brigadier himself.
Jumpin' Jehoshaphat.
There are stories by Andrew Allen, Harry Draper, Richard Dinnick, Gareth Madgwick, don't know if I pronounced that right or not, Wink Taylor, Chris Lynch, David McKinty, and Andy Frankham Allen. The Lethbridge Stewart name carries with it stories of integrity, honor, and courage. But was it always so? From its earliest origins with the Clan Stewart in Scotland and the Lethbridges in Devon, England, the name has a storied past. Historical fic.
I thought we weren't reading those anymore.
I don't know, Rand. We got a
No.
half an hour and only like so many
Yeah,
articles
I was
left.
gonna say.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I thought it was one we were tight on time.
I think we'll let this one, and he's halfway through it anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
Actually, that was the rest just says that there's 6 brand new stories, so that's not really part of the. Oh no, wait, I think I was halfway through a sentence, but anyway, there are stories during the 1600s, 1800s, 1940s, 1970s, and 2010. I see what you skipped there.
By the way, we got a person in the chat. Buildmont just asked who's our favorite Doctor.
Oh, it's no.
Obviously,
news to
Randy's
anybody.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's 10. It will be. It has been for a while.
Mine
I'm
is
still
four.
10.
I was a 4 fan until I met 10, and then I was a 10 fan. So
10
And I
is really
still am.
good. He's definitely like high end, at least second, but it's usually flip flop for me between a really good episode of the 3rd or the 4th Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is number 3, John Pertwee.
Cool.
Oh yeah. Pertwee's good, especially if you like the James Bond Doctor.
And Lineage is available as hardback for a limited time for pre-order now, and it is not part of any bundles.
Not part of any bundles. And Bill, what's your favorite Doctor?
Oh, I said 10.
Oh, you did say 10. I
Yeah.
didn't hear it. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of followed behind Rand saying, well, me too, kind of.
Mm.
So there you go, Bill. Bill in the chat.
We keep trying to get 4 higher on Bill's list, but he's not buying it yet. He's given
yeah.
every.
Well, then again, we gave him the Cyberman episode. What do you expect?
We gave him Talons of Wang Chiang, and he rated it low.
Yeah, I suppose.
We
Mm.
gave him
I
Arctic
think it was
Raid.
that low. Did I rate it that low?
I'm pretty sure you rated it pretty low.
I'm pretty sure you rated it lower than everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard mine. Mine was 4.
Yeah, but I heard
Tom
yours was
Baker.
4.
Oh, I gave it a 4. I
Yeah, but
I
what
rated it higher than Thomas did.
Oh. Thomas was our negative Nancy, that one. I think you're confusing Bill with Thomas on that one.
Right.
No, it's I had been half paying attention, and generally he rates 4th Doctor episodes lower than the rest of us.
All right, Big Finish.
Yes, and while we don't have a lot of news elsewhere, Big Finish, of course, never disappoints us by coming out with all the news. The first thing is there was a lot of releases this week. The first big one that came out was the 4th Doctor Adventures, Volume 1, or Series 7, Volume 1. This is Tom Baker and Louise Jameson, being, of course, the 4th Doctor and Leela. And this particular set is four stories. The Sons of Kaldor by Andrew Smith, The Crowmarsh Experiment by David Llewellyn, The Mind Runners by John Dorney, and The Demon Rises, also by John Dorney. Volume 1 is going to be out on CD, or is out, excuse me, at £25 or for download for £20. And that's going to be about the same US.
I'm pretty sure I heard a canine voice in the trailer when I was listening to
I
it.
think they mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Bill DeMont mentioned that he thinks that 4 is the best.
Yes, join me.
4 was my favorite for a long time. I just clicked with 10 somehow. It was one of those things where it just clicked with me.
I just love 3 because he appeals to the kid in me.
Anyway, also out this week is the 1st Doctor Adventures, Volume 1 is shipping out. Of course, we've been talking about this for a few weeks. This is David Bradley's 1st Doctor, along with Claudia Grant playing Susan, Gemma Powell as Barbara, and Jamie Glover as Ian. this is, of course, the first Bradley full Big Finish outing.
I'm a little surprised that the disc version is coming out a full month after the download.
They released it early on digital because they wanted it out for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
It was one of their 12 days things, so it's not really. I guess it is close to a full month, but yeah, they released it early because of that. Because I think they put that out originally for their first days of Big Finishmas.
Or maybe it's I think maybe it's a week off of a full month. I'm looking at the date now. I was thinking
Something like
today, but yeah.
So yeah, you can now get this one at £23 on CD, £20 download. Same thing. US, same price. Might be a little more for the CD because of shipping overseas, but other than that, should be good. Also out this week, much to my chagrin, the Diary of River Song Series 3.
Oh, we already know there's going to be a Series 4.
Yeah.
Starting the Fourth Doctor for the next one.
So, this is 4 stories. Lady in the Lake by Nev Fountain. A Requiem for the Doctor by Jacqueline Rayner. My Dinner with Andrew by John Dorney. And The Furies by Matt Fitton. So, this is available $45 on CD, $40 download, or pounds in the UK. So, that's it for what's out now. And then for upcoming releases, we've got the 10th Doctor Chronicles coming out. Not Adventures, Chronicles.
There's a difference, apparently.
Yes, there is. Adventures actually has the actor playing the Doctor doing the voices, or being himself. They're an audio drama, whereas these are basically people narrating a story. And in this case, the narrators are going to be Jacqueline King, who played Sylvia Noble in Series 4, and Michelle Ryan, who played Lady Christina D'Souza in Sands of Mars. Or no, that's what was.
You're thinking Waters of Mars.
I'm trying to remember the name of that episode.
Planet of the Dead.
Planet of the Dead. Thank you. Yes, sorry. Got my special wrong. Anyway, she was in there for 1 episode. And now she'll be narrating a story. It doesn't say what the... Oh, yes, it does. Here we go. Taste of Death by Helen Goldwyn. Backtrack by Matthew J. Elliott. Wild Pastures by James Goss. And Last Chance by Guy Adams. And this is available for pre-order now at the $23 on CD, $20 download. Same in pounds.
It actually looks like they're only doing their own voice, because the other actor that I thought was doing the Doctor is listed as narrated by.
Narrated by, yeah. Okay, so Jacob Dudman's doing the narration, and then they'll just chime in with their character voices. And that's the difference for if you see Chronicles versus Adventures, to let you know.
Chronicles is not a full cast.
Correct. And then, finally, one last piece of news. If you are in the UK and you have iPlayer for radio, you can listen to one of the Big Finish 4th Doctor audio stories on iPlayer right now. It is the first one, Destination Nerva, is available on iPlayer, and that's Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. So if you have it, you want to hear it, you haven't gotten it, this is a great way to hear it for free and make your decision on whether the 4th Doctor audios are worth it. Here's a hint, they are.
I take it you had to listen?
No, I've heard some of the 4th Doctor audios before, and it's Tom Baker, man.
Yeah.
He may not be on the top of my list, but he's still right up there at the top.
He's at least your number 2.
Oh, yes. I love Tom Baker to death. He's my favorite classic Doctor. And he is such a character and personality, and that still comes through even on audio. And apparently he loves doing it, so we'll be seeing more of him.
As long as he's still around and kicking.
So that's it for our news, and we are 20 minutes ahead of schedule because I didn't read the summaries. Instead of, it's like if we add the summaries, we wind up 20 minutes behind schedule. And if we don't add it, we're 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Somehow we're spending 40 minutes on summaries.
There is a comment I could make on Diary of River Song based on what people on Facebook have found in the cast listing. Randy, you probably saw this discussion, if you know what I mean.
No, I think I failed to pay attention to it.
Okay.
Like he wants to pay attention to a River Song thing.
And I'm going to say probably. Well, I don't know if you're concerned about spoilers. Close your ears now. But it's a River Song audio. I don't think we're too concerned. But the actress Nina Toussaint White, who's listed as Brooke 2, is better known to fans of Doctor Who as Mel's in Let's Kill Hitler, implying that Brooke and Brooke 2 are probably both River Song. There's also, I think, another name. There's Lake and Lake, or there's a few people listed as 2 of things, which makes me wonder if they're just past incarnations of River who just keeps regenerating throughout the story. I really don't know.
Could be alternate reality versions.
I predicted it, where they
That's possible too.
Where they allow River Song to have multiple regenerations.
But right. But yeah, since this does feature Kavarian, there's a good chance that it's got a lot to do with her childhood.
Makes me roll my eyes harder though, unless somehow Big Finish is doing something to save River Song as a character. But I'm very hesitant to think that. I just really hope that the events of this audio do not cause that character to be dropped off at the end in Amy and Rory's life and become the Mel's from the episode. Like, I don't want this audio to be the cause of that story. Too late.
Because it's too loopy already.
Yeah, well, she's a Moffat-made character.
But Moffat's not writing this script, so I have hope.
Yes, I know, but
his taint has already messed with
hell. Yeah, it's already looped to hell. What's one more loop?
Let's do the time loop again.
Let's do the time loop again.
It's like saying you're already driving drunk. What's a shot of heroin?
There's a reason we call predestination paradoxes Moffat loops at this point.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, Stephen Moffat.
Let's do the
I don't
Moffat
get to say that much
again.
anymore. It's going to be God damn it, Chris, or all right, Chris, coming this fall. You know, the Christmas special was the last time I would have to say God damn it, Moffat, and I wasn't that pissed at the Christmas special.
There are still scripts, quote unquote, edited by Moffat that we haven't reviewed yet.
Yeah. What do we have left in that particular aspect?
Probably about half a dozen series 5 and 6 episodes.
Oh God.
Let me get my revolver. I'm not sure if I'm going to survive this one.
Particularly the more forgettable ones of series 6.
Hey, you better not be lumping the Doctor's wife in that.
No, I'm not counting that as forgettable, but like most of series 6, except for the Moffat and Gaiman ones, I always forget about because they're just forgettable to me.
I mean, the only ones
I guess the pirate ones that season. That one's good.
Well,
good, memorable, I should say, at least.
Yeah, the first couple there are nice, and then you just kind of get into meh.
I guess 6B, which I know he had no time to edit anything because he didn't have time to finish his scripts, is mainly the forgettable ones.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel the same way about 5, really. You kind of get into this area in the middle where you stop caring. Usually I think it's because I'm still fuming after Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, but...
Anyway.
That one we have reviewed already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have reviewed that one.
To our chagrin.
Mm-hmm.
So no geek talk. So we're going into the 5-minute challenge.
Yeah, I think so. Let me clear my mind because I told Matt before the stream I'd be doing the review.
Yes, you did.
So give me a moment here of meditation and getting into a position where I make sure I don't get short of breath while I talk. You know, laying down, kind of with my head looking at the ceiling while doing this. Not the best for a review.
Not particularly
Okay.
unless you need a blank slate to look at while you're thinking.
Well, that, and I occasionally like to take a drink of fluid while I do this so that my voice doesn't actually die. Like I just
Alright.
did. You got the stopwatch up?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So the episode essentially, after a little intro by Sarah Jane Smith, starts up with an ad for a brand new drink that's hitting the UK called Slurm. I mean Bubble Shock. Watching this is a young lady moving in on Bannerman Road by the name of Maria Jackson. We meet her father, who's mostly bewildered and confused, and we meet her mother, who's a horrible, horrible person.
Yep.
And then we also briefly see Sarah Jane. We also meet another person who is basically an Aspo. She basically barges in there, and eventually manages to drag Maria off to the Bubble Shock tour, where you go to the Bubble Shop factory, take a tour, and are offered copious free samples of Bubble Shock. Anyways, Maria's father mentions this to Sarah Jane, who suddenly gets really agitated and drives off. We should mention that before this, on their first night there, Maria did happen to see Sarah Jane conversing with an alien in her backyard. Just for the fact that it becomes relevant later. Anyway, they take this tour, and the thing about the tour is it said no cell phones. They physically made everyone turn them off. Well, the Asbo doesn't care about this and wants to go meet up with her friend, so sneaks away from the tour and tries to call her friend. All the alarms go off. She staggers into an area that's completely restricted and sees, well, it basically kind of looked like the Nestine from the first Third Doctor episode, only CGI instead of puppetry. Yeah.
And in the ceiling.
She screams, shit happens. Sarah, meanwhile, takes the chaos to break into the facility where she's caught and has an interview with the head of the Bubble Shock factory, Miss Wormwood, who acts very strange. And of course, Sarah drops the hint that she knows that she's an alien. And the basically Miss Wormwood's response is, "Who are you gonna tell?" Vexed, Sarah Jane goes back to her house to brood, and basically has the orders to be killed. The secretary tries it in the elevator and fails. She manages to get out with the help of the other kids and a young human boy who apparently was on a table that wakes up in all of this. He's apparently a created child of from the Bubble Shock factory, and winds up meeting up with Sarah Jane, and they all leave. Sarah Jane discovers that he doesn't have a belly button, meaning that he was some kind of genetic creation. And meanwhile, they interview the Asbo, who reveals where Sarah Jane lives, and as far as I'm aware, what her favorite food is by the sound of it. They give her a ride home and drops her off on Bannerman Road because, of course, the person there is sent to kill Sarah Jane. Maria sees this, goes to warn Sarah Jane, and they get caught in Sarah Jane's house with a big freaking, gastropod attacking them. And goes up the stairs, and Sarah runs into her attic and gets something, comes out and suppresses it with some kind of gas. After being told not to go into the attic, the Asbo promptly sneaks into the attic. And of course sees Sarah's full complement of various alien artifacts and knickknacks that she has gotten over the years of dealing with the aliens on Earth. Sarah then, eventually, now that her secret has been broken, activates Mr. Smith, the computer in her wall, and sends an ultimatum to Mrs. Wormwood, who promptly starts invading Earth. Great work, Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane rectifies this by trying to drive to the Bubble Shock factory, and break in. First, she tries to use her sonic lipstick, but that doesn't work. So she basically grabs the Bubble Shock bus and crashes it through the wall, obviously remembering what Mickey did way back in School Reunion. She gets out, stares down the monster, and promptly loses. But Maria remembers that the cell phones cause stuff to go wrong. And she uses her cell phone, but it's not weak enough to hurt the Bane mother. But the young boy who came with them also had picked up a device in Sarah's attic, a long-range space communicator, basically a giant cell phone, which she uses, which kills the Bane mother, and basically sets everything right. They go home. Sarah adopts the boy, or claims to have adopted the boy, whom she names Luke. And we get to see Maria's horrible, horrible mother again. The end.
Yay!
You did it in 5 minutes, 24 seconds.
Yeah, but I had the time, and I was trying to be amusing.
Yeah, you didn't hammer that joke home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is.
I was gonna say I was about ready to fall asleep.
It's the same story. Group of people take a tour of a soda factory. Turns out that aliens are basically secreting their essence into the sodas to dominate people. It's the same story. Russell T. Davies must have literally been watching old Futurama episodes while he wrote this episode.
And this would be an interesting one to adapt for children.
Anyway, so let's talk about what we liked about the episode. I have rolled randomly, and Aaron is up first.
I actually did like how the marketing of the product was done. Of the bubble, was it Bubble Pop
Bubble
soda
Shock.
or something?
Bubble Shock.
Oh, Bubble Shock. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed that because it did. While it does seem kind of over the top nowadays, when I was looking at it, I kind of stopped and realized, well, I'm pretty sure that there's soda factories that actually do this at some point. I know that they did it with
That
the
put aliens in it.
Cabot. Well, no, I mean like give
The over-top
tours
advertisements.
and everything, and ridiculous.
I
Hey,
got you.
Have free soda. Take a ride on our free soda bus, and
It kind of made me think of Red Bull when that was hitting its peak,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which
It
was
just made me
probably
think-
around this time.
Yeah, and it was kind of creepy, but at the same time, I stopped and thought about it, and it was definitely happening.
It was still reflective of 2000s advertising,
Yeah.
especially towards
Extreme,
kids.
It was still that era of
Extreme, but not as extreme as 90s.
I don't know. The advertising reminded me of an old episode of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Cuckoo
The
Cola.
Coca-Cola cult.
That would be the one.
Come along, sing a
You
song.
belong.
Feel the
Feel the fizz of Coca-Cola.
Oh.
That's like one of my favorite episodes because it's a gadget-oriented episode, and she was just the greatest,
Oh yeah.
best character ever. Do it again, Disney.
I would kill for them to do a remake of Rescue Rangers. I just don't know if they'd get the same feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem to be hitting it out of the park with DuckTales at the moment.
I actually
It
haven't
could be
been
part of their
watching
extended universe
DuckTales.
plan.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't actually been watching DuckTales, so...
From what I've heard, it's been good. So
Anyway, Bill, you're next. What did you like about the episode?
I think I'm gonna go with the main character that was introduced, Maria. She seemed to be, pretty functional as any Doctor Who companion. It was believable. She didn't just, You could kind of go with that she was something special, but it seemed more like she just wasn't interested or said she didn't like the soda, which is a little different than a chosen one plot, but it was still believable enough. And she just, was fairly normal person, but got wrapped up in all of it, and I think it was pretty successful character intro.
All right, Matt.
Gosh, Miss Wormwood and Sarah Jane, those two just instantly hero.
One or the other, Matt.
Wait, what?
Don't take all the good things.
Fine then, you're gonna force that. Elisabeth Sladen then.
Unfortunately,
I wanted to go with the whole they did really good chemistry as hero and villain, but fine, just steal it away from me.
Not their characters.
Were you talking about their aspect of standing off against each other, or?
I'm done. You've already ruined it. Moving on.
Tim, how about you?
Well, I really liked the kids in this episode. Even the one who just sort of barges in, the barger inner one.
Yeah.
They were all believable as child characters, and I think they were written well enough to come across as being genuine people and not fake people, I think.
Okay, I'll disagree with you, Tim, but I'm gonna talk about that in the flip side of this.
No, you're not. That was already on my list.
We'll see if it's the same thing when we get to it. Anyway.
We'll see.
Yep. So what I liked Elisabeth Sladen being back. I loved the brief appearance by John Leeson's K-9, by the way. I just really enjoyed that. So let's get back to what we didn't like about the episode. Aaron, you're up first.
Oh God. I'm gonna take the E and say Maria's mom.
Yeah.
It'll probably always be Maria's mom, just so you know.
this entire season, it's just Maria's mom.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna feed into that a little bit on my topic, so I'll hold off on making comment here beyond that. Other than saying that, yes, you're right. She's a horrible, horrible person.
I mean, seriously, she thinks that people deserve to be sexually harassed just because they exist and are being paid at the moment.
There's more beyond it than that. You don't learn about it in this episode, but the whole reasoning behind what's going on with that family is basically boils down to the fact that her mother's a complete and total selfish bitch.
Wow.
I mean, she basically had an affair and divorced her husband. Or either that or she divorced her husband because she wanted to fool around. Has promptly nailed him for welfare checks, forced him to sell their previous location and move, and basically showed up here, not to help them move, but because she wanted her check.
That's terrible.
Yeah, she's a horrible person.
Oh, I didn't even realize that they were divorced. Like, I thought she was just in the
No.
house.
Yeah, they divorced a while ago, apparently, from what I got.
I guess now that I'm thinking about it from the previous episodes I'd seen, yeah, that makes sense. But Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So, Bill, how about you? What didn't you like about the episode?
So, as much as various sources seem to claim that black and white isn't a topic of discussion in 2000s or modern Britain, this is yet another black character that seems to be the only one that I noticed in the episode that is pretty much a stereotype of, a loudmouth, ignorant character. And just that aspect, the combination of...
You're hitting a mine, aren't you?
Huh?
I think
Keep
you're
going.
looking too much in. I think
Was there another black character in the episode?
in this particular episode, no.
Hmm.
But I really think that was just a case of who nailed the casting rather than looking at it race-wise.
All I know is it seems to be something they do too often for it to be. I mean, it's either a coincidence that keeps happening or someone's not paying attention.
I'm paying attention. I mean, I'm also playing Bejeweled, but
But I'm talking about people that work at the BBC, though.
yeah. But
Now-
yeah, I actually didn't notice that, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe, yeah.
Hmm.
This is maybe a little bit strange.
Again, I think once again you're looking at something through American eyes. There's a lot of things I've noticed in the BBC where it actually they will put a black person in the role that it doesn't make sense for it to be a black person in like a historical drama where it wasn't really a present thing, and they cast these people because they nailed it
Mm-hmm.
in auditions.
Hopefully, yes.
Hmm.
Usually, if that's a good reason to keep them there, yeah.
It's
But
just,
but anyways, Bill's thing is that he thinks that there's something slightly sinister about a particular character's makeup.
no, it's was race of casting, and no, I think
Or,
it was
yeah, race of casting.
And
if you
I
wanna put
don't
it that way.
think- I don't think so. I think it's just a case of somebody nailing it in auditions because of course the after this they don't go back to that character and they introduce Clyde Langer,
Mm-hmm.
who is also a bit of an Asbo, but he is a more heroic Asbo than I even forget what this character's name.
I'll be
Kelsey.
covering it.
Kelsey is this character that we're talking about now. I know because I worked with like 3 of them.
Yeah, but okay, thank you. Yeah, the thing is though, I think they just decided that the character itself was not written heroic enough to be continuing in the ongoing series. So they basically introduced Clyde, who was basically the same basic personality, only with a more heroic and brave stint. And of course, Clyde would continue through like the rest of the series.
Anyway, who's up next after Bill?
It would be you, Matt. So you can get it off your chest.
As I've been trying to say, Kelsey Hooper is my worst thing about this. I don't think it's the actress. I think it was bad writing.
She certainly isn't that sympathetic. I mean,
Yeah, the number one problem seems to be that they wrote her character really badly. And you mentioned Clyde. Yes, they actually added tidbits to Clyde, which made him a redeemable character, which made him an interesting person to watch. Kelsey gets none of that. She's almost as bad, if not worse, than the mother. I can't remember her name right now.
No, she's not. She's not as bad as Clyde's
She's not as
mother,
bad
but she's
yet,
close.
but she literally just goes, "Hi, you got internet? I'm forcing myself in. Bye." Like, wow, what an introduction to a character.
Yeah,
quote
I mean,
unquote.
if I had been a teenager, and that was how this person introduced themselves to me, I would have been like,
get out of my house.
"Get
Yeah,
the fuck out of my house!" Yeah.
I'm surprised Maria's Maria's dad doesn't kick her out of the house.
he seems
Yeah,
to think
me
that
too.
she's nothing but trouble too.
He offers her food, in fact. Maybe thinking she's hungry or hangry or something. I don't know.
And she's like, too much carbs, and I'm like,
Uh
I do
huh.
like his jibe there. Well, you can starve then.
and it's not really. I mean, declining because of that. It's how they're declining. I mean, you know,
the attitude.
the attitude, and it's both her and the mother have that same "I don't care" attitude.
Yeah, and that
And, you know,
really badly affects those characters.
And if it was a side effect of the bubble shock that was turning people into complete and total assholes,
That could have been actually an interesting thing to cover, but that's not where they went.
no, it's not. All right, so Tim, how about you?
Well, I'm still a little bit thrown off whenever they throw in the aliens are not common knowledge in this universe. thing, the whole no one will believe you, Sarah Jane. You're like, they'll think you're crazy. You know.
Except there's a pocket of people.
It's partially it's because of the whole thing that Unit and Torchwood has been basically covering it up for
Torchwood's
years.
been neuralizing people with drugs.
Yeah.
But we don't. I don't think. Yeah,
You know, in the UK they've got Unit that deals with it, Torchwood that covers it up. In the United States, there's the Men in Black.
Yeah, but I'm still like, was this episode released before or after that the Voyage of the Damned, where Will says, "Oh, everyone's hiding in Christmas because something happens
around
at
the
Christmas."
same time.
Actually, I think this came out before that.
This was a Christmas special, so it might have been.
No,
Was
it would have
the
been
same-
before that. It would have been before that because this would have been around the same time as Runaway Bride.
Yeah, so this would have been before it. So if anything, maybe the first Christmas special where things went big would have been what happened. The
Even
Star
still,
in the Sky.
there was the Christmas invasion. Yeah, everybody getting blood controlled and everything.
That was a little bit weird, but people could have came up with excuses. But then the Star in the Sky is zapping downtown Britain. You
and
can't
there was
hide that.
Never mind the whole thing, Aliens in London. Everyone forgot about that despite it being massive news.
Oh, yeah. Wait, how did they cover that up?
UFO crashes into the Capitol.
Everybody denied it as a hoax.
Yeah, they essentially said that was a hoax. The Big Ben crash and everything, yeah.
But yeah, this came out on January 1st, 2007. So this would have been right after The Runaway Bride. Like a week after.
So technically in universe it might have happened like a couple of months before this.
Well, it was
or this might have happened a couple of months before that. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, mind you, they got this out remarkably fast after the positive response to School Reunion, which was like April, I think, of 2007 or 2006.
Yeah, that would have been 2006.
Yep.
So yeah, they got
Russell
this
was
out
like-
in less than half a year. So
Russell was like, Liz, you're not planning to leave the studio, are you? You were like, we got you here. You're not leaving.
we want you to stay. We'll give you your own show.
No, it's like Russell's like, so, Elisabeth, Miss Sladen, how did you feel about playing Sarah Jane again? She's like, I loved it. I always feel connected to this character. How would you like to do this for a series? For children. Your own series. My own series? Yes, your own series. Okay. Great. We'll get production started now.
And leave
Come the troops! The ratings are up! We're going!
And leave that Big Finish series you're doing on a cliffhanger.
Pretty much. They pretty much hired her right from under Big Finish's under their nose.
I didn't even realize she was doing a Big Finish series.
But while paying lip service, because what was she doing in the Big Finish series is she was out solving crimes or solving aliens and stuff on Earth. Which
So technically, they just did a 180 and officially took her from Big Finish and continued it for kids.
But no, apparently that series ended on a cliffhanger, which never got resolved because she was busy doing this and could never go back to finish any audios until she died. She had just agreed to do some because she was going to do audios with Tom Baker.
Yep.
And then she died. Saddest thing in the world.
I wanted that reunion.
Anyway, I think we're down to I think we're down to what I didn't like about this. And I have to say what I didn't like is Russell T Davies' writing. Now, I have talked forever on how I can tell when Stephen Moffat has written an episode.
That's because that's been
our
our
biggest
biggest
bane.
bane.
All of that has made me indicate when I can tell that Russell T Davies has written an episode.
But there are
And
no
that is the
pigs.
fact-
We're farting.
It's not just pigs and farting. It's the fact that he turns the camp and cheese levels up to 11.
Yes, he does.
And I was sitting here listening to the dialogue, and I'm like, this is the cheesiest dialogue I
God.
remember in
Some of
this
the
show.
standoffs were a little bit cheesy, yeah.
Is someone Oh no, never mind. When you say cheesiness, a scene pops into my head, but somebody might mention that as one of their
Yeah,
scenes.
save
so I
it.
won't-
Save it.
I'll
Bottle
save-
that
yeah.
up, Bill.
There are several cheesy scenes in this, and also the fact that Russell T Davies' characters, his supporting characters, tend to be a little one-dimensional. I mean, basically, if you look at Maria's mother, she's Jackie Tyler turned up to 11.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely terrible, yes.
With no sympathetic
Jackie
value
without
whatsoever.
Jackie without the moderating influence of having a daughter that lives with her.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that. You take a look at start taking a look at the other characters. They're either remarkably well developed or they're one-noters. If you look at any of the Bane, they're all basically played really broken and stilted because that's how that's how Russell T Davies thinks all aliens should deal with their dialogue. If you look at some of Miss Wormwood's dialogue, you realize it's interchangeable with Slovene dialogue from Aliens of London World War III.
A bit, yeah.
Very much.
It's all really basically Russell T Davies' signature writing with extra cheese thrown on the top and basically set in the oven to bake. Now, I love Russell T
Damn
Davies.
it! Now I'm hungry.
You just ate. Oh wait, no, you didn't. Never mind.
Yeah.
You just ate. Shush.
I just ate, and she elected not to because she was so full, and now she's hungry. Anyway, you take all this and you look at this, and it's just like, okay, he's a great showrunner. He has great overarching visions. He's like George Lucas in that way. George Lucas is a great world builder, a great universe builder. But you don't want him to write the individual movies and episodes because
I hate sand.
his dialogue is stilted and horrible, and his character interaction sucks. And Russell T Davies is the same way. He wants to be Joss Whedon so bad. And he gets bits of it in the writing. But at the same time, he focuses on certain characters and others stagnate. And I could see that in particular in this writing, and that's why the writing is my least favorite part of this.
Have you ever heard of Plagueis the Wise?
Okay, favorite scenes. Aaron.
My favorite scene is with Sarah Jane interviewing Wormwood. It's kind of a battle of the wills there, and I thought that was kind of fun. It showcases Sarah's her own wit and intelligence, and shows that she's kind of a force to be reckoned with herself, even though she's going up against this alien that's obviously trying to take over the world. And at the same time, Miss Wormwood is actually feeling threatened, and recognizes that Sarah Jane could actually throw her plan into to a halt.
Yep.
So
And
that was pretty cool.
And they're basically being subtle about it without being subtle about it.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of weird because they're kind of surrounded by aliens, so
But they're still keeping with the cover veneer that she's a CEO of a soda company,
Mm-hmm.
and that Sarah Jane is a reporter for a popular magazine.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's fun. It works for me in that sense.
That's
so.
one of the few scenes that worked really well for them.
Yeah, it's basically Sarah Jane being Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Only, unfortunately, Sarah Jane doesn't fully have a Superman to go into at the end of it.
She does
If
at
you
least
look
have a
at-
Sonic, though.
If you look at it as Clark Kent interviewing Lex Luthor, that's kind of the same feel.
More or less.
All right, Bill, how about you? What was your favorite scene?
So it's kind of a silly choice, but in the context of an episode that largely revolves around canon, or around continuity, I should say. I really was enjoyed the shout out to Harry and the Brigadier when she's
Oh, yes.
coming up with names.
Names for eventually who would be Luke. Yeah.
The kind of harmless continuity reference that I wish they would do more of for some of the licensed media, because it really doesn't hurt anything, but it just adds that little bit.
Though I didn't think I heard Mike come up, did he?
No, I don't think so. It was Harry and Alistair.
I think most of that time Mike was an enemy when Sarah was on anyway.
Yeah, but it was good enough that when he went to that retreat to clear his mind, it was Sarah as the first person he called.
I suppose, yeah.
So they at least were good enough to know that was up. John didn't come up either. Of course, people would go, who the fuck is John? And that's apparently Sergeant Benton's first name.
That's true.
And yeah, you can't have worked for Unit without knowing without.
But at the same time, Randy, John Smith.
Yeah, John Smith.
It's a little on the nose.
A little bit.
Yeah, this is my son John Smith, and the
I could just see her like John, and everybody in the room looks at her.
And she just cringes and goes, "No, never mind."
I could see that happening, and the doctor coming and looking at Sarah and going, "Really?"
I would also add that Mike Smith is also a interesting one, since I have a friend named Mike Smith.
Yeah, but that's only interesting for you.
That's interesting for me, yes, but still.
What's this about Mike Yates was a enemy?
He got involved in bad guys a lot during Sarah's time.
He got his brain dominated by the boss, the computer, and the Green Death.
Oh.
And he was part of the cult in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, right?
He sided with the Doctor in Invasions of the Dinosaurs, got suspended, and then went to the cult. Went to the place that the cult from Invasion of the I think it was Invasion of the Spider. The final episode, Planet of the Spiders.
Planet of the Spiders.
Yeah, the cult that wound up summoning the spider was in, and he basically wound up realizing that weird shit was going on and called up Sarah Jane. And to have her let the Doctor know that weird stuff was happening at this. I don't know if it was really a monastic retreat or what is it. It was where he was going to piece his head back together.
Some form of psychiatric care for him, so he could possibly get back on his feet.
He got corrupted by the boss, which wasn't his fault. That was straight on mind control. But that left him kind of confused and weak-willed, and he kind of fell under the verbal sway of the mad professor from Invasion of the Dinosaurs. And after that, he had to turn in his unit gun and everything. And so he left to go clear his mind. It didn't become a focus, because you got to remember, we went from the Santaran, I forget what the first Santaran episode, the one with Lynx was called, the Time Warrior. We went from the Time Warrior to space, to the dinosaur, or actually to space, to the dinosaur invasion, to space, to Planet of the Spiders. I mean, it literally...
They gave it a few weeks before they went full development on the next step, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you never really got to see. Meanwhile, back on Earth, yeah. So it kind of went bang, bang, bang from a unit perspective. So, anyway, Matt, you were up. What was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene. I like the bit between Sarah and the yet named Luke. The step-by-step that Sarah's going through trying to figure out what's up with him, because something's just obviously not quite right, and just Luke's description of how everything just suddenly started for him, with him running down a hall and then bumping into everybody.
Okay. And Tim, how about you?
Oh, I loved the scene near the end where they're all hugging and spinning around. Not since Rocky and Apollo Creed hugged on the beach did I get such a warm, happy feeling.
Okay.
Tilt.
It's a nice scene.
Yeah.
You would think
know?
Luke, you would have think the yet to be named Luke would have been, what is this?
Right?
He's probably just like hugging and laughing and going with the flow.
Mhm.
Well, the thing is,
What is that sound coming out of your mouth?
yeah, he's never had these experiences before. And suddenly this woman who he's starting to trust just comes up and wraps her arms around him. I would have been like, what the fuck, lady? Only I wouldn't know how to say that in then correct terms.
Well,
It's the most peculiar feeling.
do you need to be taught how to hug?
Wait till she has to explain what an erection is.
I think
That was the episode that
hugging
never
is
got
cultural.
written.
That said, I'm sure there's an episode of Data's first hug that Russell could have cribbed from.
Sarah, can you explain why whenever I look at Maria, I get hard down there? Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they cut that episode from the production list.
That was on the edutainment version.
Although I'm pretty sure Russell probably had the scene written out somewhere.
In the back of his brain.
Palms, Harry.
Only in Russell's version it was when Luke met Jack or something like that.
Oh dear.
No.
Because of course everybody falls for Jack. All right. So whose one was that?
That was mine.
Okay.
That's Tim.
So my favorite scene, and this is only because I'm such a fanboy, was the cameo appearance by K9. And the fact that they got John Leeson to apparently phone in his lines from wherever the hell he was in 2006.
At least he was able to phone them in. If nothing
Yeah,
else.
because I did notice that K9 started particularly tinny even for K9. So I think he had to like Skype in his lines or something. From Canada or Australia or wherever the hell John Leeson was at that time. But at least they got him to do it. Looks like he was doing a television series called Chucklevision at the time, so I don't know. Anyway, I just love seeing K9 again, and that reference to let you know, oh yeah, K9's still around. He's just not going to be visible that often was still kind of like awesome. I love K9. I love him to death. Anyway, we go from favorite scenes. We go from favorite scenes to least favorite scenes. And Aaron, you're up. What was your least favorite scene? What scene was the most cringeworthy?
I think gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the ones with Maria's mom. Yeah, I think it is with the I think it's the scene where like Sarah Jane is in their house and like after everything's said and done, and it's like, hey, you know your kid and your ex-husband are all right, and like Maria's mom is just like, oh, get out of the house, dude. We don't want you over here all the time. And it's just like, oh, jeez.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised
like she has a say since she doesn't even live there.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'm kind of surprised that again, that no one said that to Kelsey.
Because unlike her, they're nicer people and don't do that.
I agree with you. Any scene with the mother is cringeworthy. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Just because she is such a one-note terrible character. She has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Which is really sad because people like that usually do have something about them or some reason.
Yeah, it's like, why did you marry this bitch in the first place?
Or they usually they tend to have an episode later, which is like, this is how she became a horrible person, and then all of a sudden they become sympathetic for every episode written after that.
There was none with this. She had a quasi redemption episode, which was her final episode. but it really wasn't enough to basically justify the bitchy person that she was. Or, you divorce a person because you want to fool around, and yet you hang out at their house all the time and basically ask for money. No.
Mm-hmm.
Not ask, demand money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen, by the way, at that scene at the end, and she's like, "And where's my check?" And he's like, can it wait a week or two? I need to pay the movers." And she's like, "Yeah, no, it can't wait because we have this little like resort like beach house checked out, but we need the deposit."
I didn't even hear that part. I was just like, she was immediate, like, well, you should have planned for it. I'm like, sitting there like, moving is expensive, right?
And you're the one that forced it on him,
Yeah, I listened to that justification. She wants to go on a vacation, so she wants his money. Whereas he needs it to, buy food.
Self-centered hag.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's she's almost cartoonishly evil.
Come to think of it,
Yeah.
shouldn't she be paying him child support
Oh,
and not the
yes.
other way around?
She's a rank amateur compared to Dr. Colossus.
Technically, it's alimony, not child support.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. She's a terrible person. Just let's put it at that. Okay, Bill,
Underline.
your
So-
least favorite scene.
Okay. So Randy gave one view of this scene, and I'm going to give kind of the opposite. And that is, first of all, I don't know, if K9 is going to be in the episode, he should be in the episode. If he's not going to be in the episode, reminding us that we're not going to see him does not make me feel better. There's also the fact that it's really weird just having a portal to a black hole that K9 is at, and it's just weird. And-
That didn't bother me because of Doctor Who physics. But I loved the reference they made from it. These scientists in Switzerland accidentally created. They're basically talking about, what is
The
it?
Hadron Collider.
The Hadron Collider, the CERN Collider. And I just love the fact that they made that reference, and I'm just like, okay.
Because,
I
that was a
hadn't-
big thing at the time, too.
I didn't get that because I haven't watched this since it was originally aired. This is not my favorite episode, as you can tell, and I will summarize that later. But it's just like, so the first time I saw this, I'm just like, K9! And I was geeking out. And I missed that little piece of dialogue about why he was in there. And I know the reason they did that is they could not get John Leeson on a regular basis at this
John
point.
Leeson, I believe, was busy, but also I believe the people who owned the rights to K9 were trying to get that show off the ground.
Mhm.
So they weren't terribly sure about whether or not they could use K9 on a regular basis yet.
Yep. But they wanted to establish a reason for why K9 wasn't there.
On a regular basis, yeah.
Yeah.
K9 is in his self-repairing function. We won't see him for several months.
That's a lame excuse. We've done that before.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fourth Doctor.
But so they wanted to establish it, and I didn't even think the production. No, you're right. They had announced it in 2006. So yeah, K9 was questionable on whether.
I remember
Bob
that being the
Baker-
thing that was brought up at the time, so that's why I remember.
Yeah, whether Bob Baker would sue their ass for using K9 or basically come down on them saying, nope, you can't use it.
To which it turns
And-
out Bob Baker's actually a relatively nice guy about it.
And I suspect John Leeson actually might have been in Australia or wherever the hell they filmed this at the time to do the voice. So it was also whether they'd be able to get a hold of John Leeson or would he have to be shuttling between.
So there's multiple complications with it.
Yep. So they just decided to give a brief one, give a little service to the fans so that loved K9.
So we know
And then
where he
close
was.
Yep. So I can see where you thought it was just kind of bad tacking in, but we will have to agree.
We
to
have
disagree
to
on
agree
that
to
one.
disagree because we know the technical issues. At least they
And-
could use him.
Yeah, at least if they showed him there, they had the possibility of using him for a scene or two if he was available.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the R2-D2 is shut down in the corner excuse, which hadn't been made yet, but still.
True.
Most of us thought that was exceedingly lame in The Force Awakens. Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Your least favorite scene.
Least favorite scene. I'm actually going to go with the scenes. I'm going to go with the end scenes of the Bane Mother. Because I believe, second season it already happened, and first season of Doctor Who had already happened. Essentially they redid the same effect of the Mighty Jackrofest, and just made a new CG monster for it.
Yeah,
Well, this one's a beholder.
This one's a beholder, whereas the last one was more of a slug on a ceiling.
I don't know. They look like the Nestine to me. They look like if they were going to make a modern version of the Nestine that's not sitting in a pool of lava, it would look like that.
Either or.
If they were going to try to CGI the Nestine that was in the
It was
in the machine in the old the in Spearhead from Space.
It's still more or less just the same monster, and some of the back and forth between people looking up at it and it looking down and maybe even trying to reach at them didn't quite mesh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that they needed was little pieces that opened up in the humans' foreheads or the workers' employees' foreheads.
All right.
Oh yeah, if they kept the mother on a special floor.
Yeah.
No,
well, she was in the basement, so
they just kept her in a restricted area. Yeah. All right, Tim. How about you?
I thought it was a weak payoff, the scene where Sarah Jane leaves the office and they get in the elevator, and it's just the secretary is called by the earpiece and say, "Oh, by the way, kill that person." Is like, oh man, they could have done so much better. The walls of the elevator could start closing in, or it could be filled up with poison gas, not just, oh, by the way, kill this person.
As if Sarah Jane wouldn't notice that the person was reacting to something being spoken into her ear.
What I would have done, I would have actually had almost that same scene in a way, but when she did it, Sarah Jane's immediate response would have been to lash out with an arm going, "Hi!" and knock it down, and then have her walk out of the elevator going, "Thank you, doctor, that actually worked."
Well, she hung out with the
third doctor, so she learned a little Venusian Aikido.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or she does that in a scene with Maria. What was that, Sarah Jane? Venusian Aikido. I'll show you sometime.
I learned from the only other person that learned how to do it with two arms.
I would have just loved to have seen that, because it would have been absolutely a wonderful homage, but no, they didn't think about that. So, I take it we're down to my least favorite scene. There is a scene where the alarms start going off, I think, again, or that stuff's missing, and Wormwood stands up and just bellows, "Sarah Jane Smith." It is the cheesiest fucking way of saying that ever. And the director took it and made it cheesier with the slightly under the desk pan up shot. I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, I didn't realize that the first time. That is so goddamn cheesy.
Yeah, those pan up shots, they did another one with Kelsey as they're like, well, as Wormwood is eyeing up Kelsey after she's captured her, and she's like, well, let's see what this little girl knows, or something like that. And it's you basically zoom up into Kelsey's nose.
I think that's something Russell liked a lot in general. I think that's probably something he had his directors do. Especially for beginnings of seasons and end of seasons.
Well, that's basically trying to do kind of a shaky cam, kind of like a Sam Raimi kind of thing. But no, this was something like a scene that you would see in a comic book, where it's just switching it so that you're looking up at her, slamming her hands down on the desk, and just, Sarah, it's like, nobody talks that way in normal English.
I'll get you next time,
you
Sarah
think
Smith.
it, you don't
next
say
time.
Yeah, it's literally kind of a Dr. Claw cartoon
next
kind
time.
it looks extra cheesy when done by somebody with a pulse. So it just hit me that time. It's when I realized that Russell had this on extra campy.
Dude, you're corny.
And it's kind of where he went wrong with Aliens of London World War III, is he made it extra, extra campy. And then sprinkled a layer of cheese on top.
And that's why people didn't quite react to them as well.
Yep.
So I remember a Navy roommate who wasn't interested because he saw those episodes first. And it's like, oh no, you saw like the worst episodes of the season. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Wait, which episodes were these?
The series 1, Aliens of London World War III. I don't think we reviewed those yet.
We have.
We actually,
yes, we have. We did.
Yeah.
We actually watched those in anime club too.
Yes, we did, because I was the one that was at this point. We didn't realize it was going to be on Sci-Fi Channel, so I was getting it through alternate methods, quote unquote. So I was bringing these files to our anime club.
And before club, we'd show it.
Watching it in the back room,
Mm-hmm.
while they were in the main theater. And so, yeah, this is how Matt got introduced to Doctor Who, by the way.
Yeah, I believe I came in at the very end of End of the World. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second episode.
Yeah, because there were a whole bunch of people that wanted me to bring the first one, Rose. And then after that, it was mostly, I think, my gaming crew, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like
Well, it was
Sarah
most of the
and
gaming
Bob
group and a
all
couple of
them.
extras.
Yeah, it was like Bob, Sarah, and Jeff, and the others. So they'd all show up at club to watch Doctor Who.
About
and
an hour before club started.
Yeah. And if that, sometimes we had to skip something because the freaking file would be late or whatever. But yeah, I remember showing Aliens of London World War III in front of a bunch of people, and they were disappointed, and so was I, because it was not the greatest 2 episodes.
Yeah, it was a little bit meh.
But then, of course,
came this little episode called Dalek.
Yeah, it managed to salvage itself completely by showing Dalek afterwards. But it's the same thing, though, because Russell T. wrote Aliens of London World War III. He wrote Rose. And he wrote End of the World, which he managed to do well because he managed to try to emulate Douglas Adams.
Yes, his attempts to emulate Douglas Adams apparently works out much better.
It was still like cheesy Douglas Adams, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It had cheesy moments, but it also had its really good serious moments.
Rose is a tad mediocre. How did End of the World only get a 3.8? Anyway,
who voted low?
Rose tend to hit on a mediocre because there was first of all there was dodgy CGI.
Yeah.
And the Auton Mickey was very cheesy.
And Rose and Mickey were both very unlikable in that episode.
Mm-hmm. And then Aliens London World War III, the Sylvine were just cheesy and horrible.
Tosh isn't even a real doctor. Oh, that's a retcon.
Actually, no. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the End of the World was like the first one I saw all the way through, or at least no, I saw the end part, and then it was the third episode I saw all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, this is actually really good. I'd like more of that.
Mm-hmm. But this was, I mean, it was the point that, we'd get to the point where we're looking at a Russell T episode and kind of rolling our eyes because we knew it was going to be a whole bunch of cheese. And if you look at it, even his Christmas specials, Voyage of the Damned, that
was so cheese.
Yes, it was either cheese or Jesus references.
It was Jesus references or everybody dies.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been really interesting.
But the CEO guy, the Max, was extra cheesy.
Yeah, so groan-worthy.
Mm-hmm. And that's where this is where this episode starts to fall apart a little, is because it's once again draped with all this Russell T brand cheese. And
So is
You,
this
as
going
an
into
actor-
your final
As an
thoughts?
actor, you can try to play it straight, knowing that no matter what you do, your work is going to come out mediocre. Or you can go to the large ham department. And the actress that played Mrs. Wormwood, excuse me, I can't remember her name.
Miss Wormwood.
No, it's Mrs. Wormwood. It was MRS on the
Oh.
listing, and they said it. I always wondered, and then who's Mr. Wormwood, but we never did find out.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mrs. Wormwood was Samantha Bond, who's best known as playing Miss Moneypenny for off of Pierce Brosnan.
Hmm.
Or playing the widow Lady Rosamund Painswick in Downton Abbey. A member of the Royal Shakespeare Company got handed this role, looked at it, and said,
I'm going to play
Okay.
this cheese because this is so silly.
I'm going to ham this up for all it's worth, because that's all it's worth. So that's one of the reasons that I get this reaction to it as being, just so goddamn cheesy. Anyway, I've gone on so much. I've said cheesy so many times, I sound like a mouse. Let's go
Record.
to final thoughts.
Record. Wasn't that your final thoughts?
Nobody else has given them yet. Aaron.
All right, so I enjoyed this one. Yes, it is a little bit cheesy. Yes, it is a little bit over the top and a little bit derivative of the Futurama episode, but I felt it was a decent introduction. It really had a pretty strong introduction, at least for Sarah Jane, and that's kind of the biggest point of it. So, good humor. Special effects were for the most part decent, and they even managed to make a industrial factory seem kind of colorful and interesting to look at, well, with all the different lighting and stuff that they do. So I do recommend watching it.
All right. Bill?
It's a fairly okay episode. It's I would say probably on par with the average series pilot. I mean, our biggest complaint was a character that we hate, and at least my biggest main thing that I thought the episode was good at was introducing the new characters. So it succeeded as a pilot. It's definitely, the kiddie, cheesy side of RTD, but that's not too much of a surprise at this point. I'll agree it's, fairly good, especially for the age range it's targeted at.
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Okay, Matt?
I have to agree with the you also have to remember the age range, and for age range, this is not by any means horrible. There are far worse and far more boring to mundane things for this age range, and some of them actually might occasionally be actually bad. This is actually pretty decent to high up there on the par bar. There are obviously it's the first episode. They're still trying to touchy-feely figure out what works and what doesn't. Most of it works. Sarah, Luke, Maria definitely all work. Mr. Smith gets introduced in this. He works. And they'll be adding more things. And Miss Wormwood would come back again as a on-again, off-again villain, apparently. And just a lot of the chemistry works. It's just a couple of things didn't quite work, and they had to take them back to the writers and go, this needs to be fixed. And we probably want to make them a different character just to help fix it further. So, for what it is, which is a rough first episode that got hurried out really quickly, to be honest, because look how fast this came out. It could have done a lot worse, but it could have been a little smidge better.
All right. Tim?
As I'm thinking about this, this episode could have done a little better job of introducing the the character of Sarah Jane herself. Like, it did a good job of establishing like the concept of the show, but I feel like there was a bit of continuity lockout in Sarah Jane's character, in that this was made for fans of Doctor Who and for people who already knew who Sarah Jane was.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, this was a serviceable intro to like taking the concept of Doctor Who and making it into like a kid-friendly show, I think.
Mhm.
So
All
those
right.
are my thoughts.
All right, and that takes it to me. This is kind of a, in my opinion, a mediocre start to this. I mean, this was a pilot. They aired it as a New Year's Day special. And, you know, watching this one, I don't think it came off as whether I would love the series or not, other than the fact that it had Sarah Jane and K9, but it was, I couldn't tell whether it would be worth it or not. A lot of the dialogue was cheesy. The bit actors were cheesy, but at the same time, there were amazing performances from both Elisabeth Sladen and the main cast of kids. So it's good enough to want to watch more to figure out where it's going. And thankfully, it got a lot better after this. But yeah, it's kind of middle of the road for me. Okay, ratings. And Aaron, that's you first.
I'm probably gonna go ahead and give this a 4.
All right. 4 from Aaron. Oh, wait, I need to turn Numlock on. Okay. Bill?
Oh God, I'm in between ratings.
Flip a coin.
I guess I'm going to go with the 4.
Bill gives it a 4. Matt?
Good, not great. A 4.
All right. Tim?
I thought this was just okay, but it was slightly above average, so I'm going to give this a 3.5.
And wow, Tim scoring lower than the rest of the group.
Dun dun dun.
And Hell's frozen, and I'm actually going to agree with Tim and give it a 3.5 as well.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which adds this up to a 3.8. Taking that to the rankings.
Almost good.
Wow. I was the low scorer, and Randy agreed with me.
Yeah, I know. Signs of the apocalypse.
We're all doomed.
Okay, so at 3.8, this comes in at number 122 of 233. So just shy of the halfway point.
Just shy. It'll get a few more basement dwellers. It'll get pushed up there.
It is on par with a lot of things, but let's see. Keeper of Traken, Boomtown, Ghostlight, Enemy of the World, Girl in the Fireplace, Invasion Earth 2150, End of the World, Day of the Daleks, The Red House, Robot of Sherwood, Extremis, Pyramid, Lie of the Land, Time Monster, and Power of the Daleks. Wow, it actually scored on the same way as the Pyramid trilogy.
My audio was cutting out. Did it end up with the 3.75 I was aiming for?
3.8.
3.8.
And it's not bad crowd.
3.8 flat, so a little higher than you thought. It is better than Flatline, Moonbase, The Daleks, The Innocent, Destroyer of the Lights, Smile, and Claws of Axos, and not as good as Knock Knock, Brain of Morbius, Colony in Space, Deadly Assassin, Warrior's Gate, Revenge of the Slovene, which is also another Sarah Jane Adventures, Into the Dalek, Technophobia, Blink, Monster of Peladon, Next Doctor, Chase, Gardens of the Dead, Jago, and Lightfoot Revival.
See, it got better. We
There
already
you go.
did one that was better.
122 of 233. That's all we have to say about Invasion of the Bane.
All right. So if you enjoy listening to us, please follow us on YouTube and Twitch. You can also like and subscribe or like and follow whatever on Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right, so next week, that was a fun little vacation, but right now it's back to things with, well, next week it's back to things with the Master. We go back to Big Finish and listen to some Tom Baker in the Fourth Doctor Adventures, Trail of the White Worm. Written by Alan Barnes and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I wrote this incorrectly.
Oh.
Yes.
What'd you mess up?
I did 2 weeks from now instead of next week's.
Oh.
So next week is Big Finish's special Master.
Ah.
I was gonna say I thought we're doing one that's just called Master soon.
Yeah, I know. I missed it.
I forgot the order, so I didn't catch that.
I wouldn't have caught it if I hadn't been looking at the Master list a moment ago. So it is Big Finish Master, written by Joseph Lidster, and starring Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor, Jeffrey Beavers as the Master, and really that's it.
Yay.
So we'll see that, and in 2 weeks we'll be back to do more Fourth Doctor do the Fourth Doctor Adventures, but I'll bring that up then. See you next week.
See you,
then.
everyone.
Yeah.
Let me show you where I've made my new home.
Oh my God, it's